this is really important for every broker who's listening to this podcast. I need you to know that every one of your clients is thinking about co-working.
Right.
And if you're not talking about it, you're at a threat of losing your client to somebody else who's more educated and more progressive in offering up a full range of solutions.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because I'm in co-working. I'm just telling you, I talk to companies every single day.
Yeah.
It's amazing where we've come in the last 5 years. Every company I talk to, whether they're 12 people or Deloitte or Amazon or Google or Facebook, they're all integrating co-working.
Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Library. I'm Dama Tamanawala. This is Garrett McGillivray, and today we're joined by Wayne Berger.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate
for being here. Thank you for hosting us.
Welcome to Spaces, Queen West, the best co-working facility in the country.
Yes.
Without bias.
That was according to, you were mentioning this earlier.
Showcase in Toronto Life, right? Blog TO.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. Globe and Mail. Right.
Yeah.
Lots of great opportunities here for great showcase.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And weddings.
And weddings. Can I jump in on that piece? I have to, because we were speaking earlier on. You know, one of the things that we love about this space that's just created such an incredible immersive community is we have brilliant venue and event space, which is difficult to find in Toronto, as we've learned, right?
Yeah.
And one of the visions that we had as a team was we wanted to build something for the community. We wanted to build something for our members, both Regus and Spaces.
Yeah.
But we also wanted to build something that can host great events outside of the typical traditional co-working facility. So I know we talked earlier on. I mean, we've hosted everybody from the United Nations and the Canadian Armed Forces to great organizations like How She Hustles and different charities. But we said, look, we need a wedding. And everybody thought, you're not getting a wedding. Who wants to get married in office space?
No, you've gone too far, Wayne.
Exactly, that's right. Why are you shifting the definition of possibility? But that's what we do, right? So we said, let's get a wedding. We have 3 booked for this summer. 3. It's remarkable. Insane. I'm going to crash 3 weddings. I can't wait. Amazing. Who would have ever thought you'd want to get married in a co-working facility? But when you build great communities, that's what happens, right?
And beautiful space.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really proud of the space. And I know we talked a little bit earlier on. You know, for us, it's really about building space where people can gather and integrate and establish this really special, unique community. And, you know, part of it's about helping people achieve their work dreams and their business goals, right? But what we're really seeing is people are also establishing some incredible social networks. Yeah. And part of that is about having space where people have the opportunity to gather. Like if you walk through this building has a heartbeat. Yeah. You walk in, the vibe is exceptional. Yeah. Functionally, what's really cool is there are 7 different work environments in this space. You want to start your day at Thor, the cafe, right? Have a meeting, you're ready to have an amazing latte, a great Americano. How's your Americano?
It's great.
It's good, right? So,
it's very good, yeah.
And then you can meet in the booths, in the open space, the co-working locations. You've got private offices, team offices. Yeah. We've got 2,500 square feet of like one of the nicest views in the city, a 360-degree view of the city, all open collaborative space from couches to high tops, right through to an amazing rooftop patio that we won't use today because it's minus 20. Yeah. But that rooftop patio has like this amazing, amazing view of everything from OCAD to the CN Tower.
Yeah. Like looking at photos of this space in preparation, I thought it was multiple spaces. Like it's hard to tell. I was like, oh, the bike, the homage to the old bike shop is still the place with the best patio in the city.
Yeah, we're really proud of of our partnership with Urbane Cycle. Right?
Yeah.
When we had a chance to work with Allied on securing the space, we reached out to Urbane Cycle, who's this amazing co-op bike shop in Toronto who's celebrating 20 years, and they were the last tenant here.
Yeah.
So we called them up and said, hey, is there a way we can help provide some recognition to what you've provided to the city of Toronto for the last 2 decades?
Yeah.
And they thought, sure, that sounds great. And we
Yeah.
thought, what would you like? We're
why
like, well, we'd love to like have some like mementos and maybe use your logo.
Right.
And they said, well, yeah, come on down and let's talk. So we went and visited them at their new location.
Right.
And we asked them, like, who do we need to talk to? Like, who has the authority? And they said, it's a co-op bike shop. We all do. We're like, you're right. That's good. So they were really wonderful in just kind of supporting the opportunity to say, look, let's put some artistic vision here and showcase what this building was about for 20 years to the people of Toronto. And I think when you walk in and you see that, and you see the exposed brick and the beams, and you look up and you see the bike wheels, and you see Urbane Cycle's logo, and then you see Thor over in the corner.
Right. Anderson .Paak is playing.
Right.
The sound
You got
system.
it, exactly. It just, who would have thought that working would look like this?
Yeah.
Right. I look back, I think about like my
good.
grandparents, right? They would probably look at me and say, what do you do every day?
Yeah.
And you know what I would say?
Yeah.
I'd say, you know what? We're changing the world. And it's exactly what's happening on a co-working site. Our goal is to change the world. It's amazing.
I'm interested. So I want to, we got to dive into all this, including a bunch specifically about co-working and how flexible office is changing across Canada and across the world.
You got it.
Before we dive into everything, so Wayne, you are the CEO of Canadian of IWG for Canada and Latin America.
Yes.
IWG, for those who might not know, is the parent company to Regus and Spaces and many other fantastic brands.
Yes.
How did you get to this place? How did you get your start?
Great divine intervention, right? So, no, it's a great question. So, I'm Canadian, born and raised in Ottawa. Went to school, grew up, went to school in Ottawa. Garrett, are you from Ottawa?
What university?
Oh, wow! Wait a minute. Are you Ottawa guy or Carleton?
Carleton.
I won't judge you.
Oh.
Just kidding.
Beat you at basketball.
I thought you guys were
Seriously? Great basketball program.
Oh
Matter
my
of fact,
God. You don't even
challenges
Yeah, I know.
U.S. universities.
NCAA teams, yeah.
Absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
you got that right.
I love watching the play. When they
Yeah,
play teams
great.
like Western or something like that, I'm calling out you guys here. It's like 100-60.
Yeah, it's
You know?
embarrassing. Ravens are the best
Yeah.
basketball team in Canada.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
because we win at every other sport. But
Good football program. So that's great. Nice Ottawa connection.
Yes.
So grew up, born and raised, went to school, and then moved to Toronto, mainly because as a Canadian, wanted to pursue business and figured if you're going to make it in Canada, it's just, your own like young notion, right? It's like, you make it in Canada, you come to Toronto. You make it in Toronto, make it anywhere. It's silly, but started my career in Toronto and then had an opportunity to really have a wonderful career adventure. And I look at a career as just an opportunity to have a great adventure while you're pursuing amazing goals, right?
Yeah.
And over the last 22 years in business, I've split the time between Canada and the U.S., spent 10 years in the U.S. in a number of different cities, worked for great companies, had the opportunity to come back to Canada in 2011 in the depths of the U.S. economy, had to sell a house in Seattle, moved to Toronto, which was leaving a tough housing market to the hottest housing market in North America, right? So that was fun on a real estate venture.
Yeah.
But came back.
Are you married right now? Was there travelers with you at that time?
There were, yeah,
Okay.
4 travelers, including a dog, right?
Okay.
So absolutely. But we lived in 6 cities in 2 countries over the period of 10 years. So travel became part of our blood, and we were very nomadic, and had an amazing experience over those years, working for really great companies and being challenged in exciting kind of strategic ventures. And I was working, my last role before joining IWG, I was at Staples as a VP, managing our Canadian business on the sales side, and had a wonderful time and experience with that company for years. The leader in their space. And and suddenly got reached out to by an executive recruiter about an opportunity with IWG. Honestly, I had such a great career for a long time, but I also knew in the back of my mind that it was time for something new.
Yeah.
Right? And I wanted to challenge myself in all endeavors, right? Where I was looking to take a step completely out of my comfort zone. I've always been somebody to try to challenge myself and take calculated risks. I'm a big believer in calculated risks and new adventures and trying to be the best at what I could be at every day and helping people really achieve their dreams. Like that's my goal as a people leader. And got reached out to by an executive recruiter, ignored that person for a month because you're busy focusing on your world
running it
and exactly, running a business from a growth perspective, right?
Yeah.
And that person was persistent. And I thought, this person's so persistent, I have to return their phone call because I admire persistency, right?
And if not to just offer them a job.
Right, exactly. That's right.
Recruit them.
You got it. And thank goodness, because it was for the opportunity to run our Canadian business for IWG as an executive vice president, country manager, so general management role, which was great for me to take a step out of my traditional kind of senior VP sales role.
Yeah. At the time, by the way, how many offices did you
Great
have?
question. 48 locations, a million square feet. Okay. That was 4.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Went through a number of interviews, and then all of a sudden, really fell in love with this interesting concept known as co-working and flexible workspace, which, by the way, 4.5 years ago, you would not have seen a podcast about it.
Right.
Every time I talked to a journalist, their first question was, what is this thing called co-working?
Right.
And what is this shared workspace, right? And had a chance to join, immerse myself in the business. I will tell you guys, for everybody listening, I've made great decisions. It was the best decision of my life and my career. And I think back of not having picked up that phone, returned the phone call, and I live with zero regrets.
Yeah.
That would have been a regret because it's been such a powerful experience for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So I'll fast forward because it's been 5 years of development, construction, building amazing locations like Spaces and Regus across the country. So
5 years operating at full throttle the whole
full
time.
throttle.
Yeah.
So where we are today, from 48 locations, million square feet, we are going to be closing in 125 locations. Everything from our smallest location, being 15,000 square feet, beautiful boutique Regus, to 125,000 square foot Spaces locations in Vancouver, in 400 West Georgia, in Gillespie and West Bank's beautiful, iconic new project, which will change the landscape of real estate in Canada, to 125,000 location at the Well. I mean, one of the biggest investments in Canadian history.
Yeah.
God, we're moving into 80 Atlantic and Liberty Village. We're moving at 2 St. Clair. We're just nonstop, guys. And
your whole website is coming soon.
Exactly. It's amazing with a diversified portfolio of brands, because that's what organizations are looking for. I mean, you look at the space that Deloitte took on Granville in Vancouver.
Yeah.
The old Tom Lee Music Building. I walked into that building. The heritage and the beauty will blow your mind. And it's the first office building moving into an area on a street that is traditionally known for its entertainment venues.
Wow.
Right? So it's blending together this world of work with the world of amenities.
Yeah. This isn't a startup either. This is a massive company.
I know.
It's a massive company known for professionalism, right? And really changing the face of what they do every day from a consulting perspective, right? So 4.5 years, 5 years, from 48 locations, 1 million square feet, we're closing in at 125 locations, moving into 5 million square feet. It's been unbelievable, and
that's awesome.
We're not done. So So my role as CEO is helping support our business across 21 countries, really building the best work of people's lives, both for our own team members across those locations to every single client, whether they're at Regus or Spaces or Number 18 or HQ.
Yeah.
It's been remarkable. And I think you'll see the world of co-working continue to shift dramatically over these next 5 to 10 years and beyond.
Hey everyone, we hope you're enjoying the video so far. We'll get you right back in there. But first, we wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor, KMB Law. KMB Law are corporate real estate lawyers that specialize in the acquisition, disposition, and financing of commercial real estate projects. And we all have a lawyer in some fashion, whether it's the person who helped you buy your first house, or write your will, or it's your cousin or some distant relative. But for the same reason you use a commercial real estate broker, you're going to want to use a commercial real estate lawyer, a specialist, somebody who's used to navigating complex leases and environmental clauses. We recommend KMB Law. They're located close by, at least if you live in Toronto. They're located in Mississauga. And for the brokers out there, they're an excellent sounding board. If you have a quick question, these guys don't monetize everything, and we find them to be an excellent resource. KMB Law, visit kmblaw.com. Back to the video. Sorry, you got to jump in because I can't see you as well. So just.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Just a quick point, because you are in charge of Latin America and stuff like that too, as well as Canada.
Yes.
How different are the formulas? Or are you pushing the same agenda across both? Because completely different countries, right?
Great question.
Well, not countries. There's 21 countries down there.
But you know what? But you raise a really good point, because it's interesting. I will tell you that from a professional perspective and a personal perspective, working with our teams in Latin America has been incredibly valuable for me. I've learned so much about individual cultures in different countries, and many organizations look at Latin America as an entity.
Yeah.
Where the reality is, it's this incredibly diverse collection of countries and peoples and geopolitical situations, and what's going on in Argentina right now is completely different than what's going on in Venezuela and Colombia and Chile and Brazil.
Honduras.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's remarkable. And so the formula, Garrett, to answer your question, the formula is consistent, because part of the goal of what we have, which is to be we are today the world's largest provider of co-working and flexible space around the world.
Yeah.
4,000 locations, diverse brand portfolio, 1,000 cities, 120 countries, right? But so to do that well, you do need economies of scale, right? Yeah. We open up a center a day around the world. It's insane, right?
Wow.
So and we're not stopping, right? So we actually have to move faster to support the surging demand for a whole host of reasons.
Yeah.
But the formula is consistent. The look and feel of the centers are different. Like what you see here is not built for Toronto. It's actually built for Queen West. Right. When you go to Yorkville, our Spaces in Yorkville, which is stunning and elegant, that's built for not just Yorkville, but it's built for 99 Yorkville. Right. So
you lease that space up in a day, right?
It opened up full.
Yeah.
It opened up full. Yeah. It's amazing. Right. By the way, so Vancouver, we're opening up 4 spaces. Right. 3 of them are full. 2 of them haven't opened. 80,000 square feet full opens up in July. 45,000 square feet in Falls Creek Flats. Full. Sold out for 5 years. It's unbelievable. It doesn't open up till November. 400 West Georgia is the only Gastown opened up in September.
Yeah.
We have a couple of offices. If anybody out there needs an office in the best location in Vancouver, call us now, because it's unbelievable in Gastown, because we have a few offices left. That's it.
Yeah.
And then 400 West Georgia is the only space we have remaining, and the only reason why it hasn't moved yet is because we don't have pricing. It's literally 3 years out, right? So to answer your question on Latin America, the formula and the concept has economies of scale. Plus, if you're a global traveler, you want to know that you have nuances that are idiosyncratic and specific for the market, but you know what to expect. When you go to a Spaces in Amsterdam, you want to be able to go to a Spaces in Bogota and have the a great similar feel. No, there's a cafe that's immersive and amazing, to the staff having complete consistency in how they operate when it comes to our client experience. But what's different is there are a lot of differences with Latin America, specifically around the countries. So number one, how we measure, how we drive our portfolio growth is different from an investment perspective. Because you look at Canada, right? Very much institutional, very REIT focused, very organized. You go down to Latin America, it's a completely different story by country, right? Mexico, very different than Colombia, very different than, Argentina, right? So Brazil. So we look at how we grow from an investment perspective, very different. How we partner, very, very different.
Right.
And then also each country, we have very specific strategies for how we manage the country, because you have situations where, some countries it's easy to invest your equity and your income in, very difficult to extract from the country, right? So we have to make sure that we're de-risking, right? Which, by the way, is what many of our enterprise companies and global large corporate organizations are trying to do as well, country by country dependency. So we're seeing this dramatic shift in how companies are operating in real estate in those types of markets, because they're markets they want to deploy in. They're big markets to build your business.
Yeah.
But there are varying degrees of risk depending on the country. So this co-working gives them an opportunity to have complete flexibility and to be able to de-risk.
Wow.
And do you find like a lot of individuals that end up going to the Latin American companies are local in nature, or they end up being like nomadic people that are coming from, the US or Canada that are floating down south?
Really good question. I'd say it's about a 60-40 split. 60%, which is local individuals building their business, looking for co-working as a primary means to run their business, whether it's part of the contingent workforce, which continues to grow, freelancers, startups, individual contractors, et cetera. I will tell you that overall, I see a very healthy startup community across Latin America, and by the way, in Canada. This is the best startup community I've seen in Canada in the years I've been in business. So it's a 60-40. But what's interesting is the enterprise business, the large institutional business, has greatly accelerated. So we're seeing a larger and larger demand for space from our enterprise clients.
Can you speak to that a little bit more? Why?
And it's growing double digits each year.
Yeah. Why do they want to be in a spaces as opposed to a traditional space?
Right. So a few reasons why. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And just if you could speak to the Deloitte, the big Deloitte move as well.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. One of the really cool things about the Deloitte deal, I think 5 years ago, first of all, I don't think there would have been any chance that Deloitte and IWG would have partnered excitingly on a news release, a press release to talk about this move, right? If you think about co-working 5 years ago, IWG, Regus, has been around for 30 years.
Yeah.
They're the pioneers in this space.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care what anybody says. Mark Dixon started this business. He started the concept, right? And still incredibly, he's my boss. He's incredibly active in the business, right? Wow. He has a vision that is unrelenting, right? Which is incredible. But even 5 years ago, the concept of like a large organization like Deloitte taking 80,000 square feet, which by the way is what kind of the message is, right? They are taking 80,000 square feet, but what some people don't know is they're actually taking 100,000 square feet. Because they took 80,000 square feet at Spaces on Granville, the full building.
Yeah. 700 employees or so.
700 employees moving into the space. It's going to change the face of that street. And the reason why they did it is because it supports their new workplace strategy. Because there is a talent war out there to attract and retain the top talented individuals. And the value in working in a beautiful, immersive, open, collaborative space is now a top 3 value in an employee selecting a company. Right. So money, position, succession planning, all important for sure.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, workspace is a high priority. The ability to work when, where, how, right, is critical. Access points for convenience to be able to work from where they need to get their job done, critical, and people want to work in great space.
Yeah.
Right? So the industrialization of cubicles, et cetera, those days are over, right?
Yeah.
People choose great organizations for their workplace strategy, right? So Deloitte, working with Spaces, moving their 700 people into Spaces Granville, was because it supports their workplace strategy. They want to provide their employees with this incredible space where they can gather, they can collaborate, they can innovate, they can host, a space that they're proud of, that they're excited to go to every day. But here's what's interesting, and this is what differentiates IWG from the rest of the co-working providers. 700 people moving into 800 square feet. For that reason, workplace.
How long are they there for, by the way?
I can't comment on the length of the contract, right?
Okay.
But it will be years, right? So I guess I just did comment on it.
Yeah.
The exact contract term is. But they also took 20,000 square feet at a Regus. You know why? Because they have individuals who want a different working environment.
Right.
Design, location, contemporary versus industrial, right? A little more privacy, more drywall, the offices versus glass. All those factors come into play, right? So the big story was Deloitte and Spaces partnering together at Spaces Granville, right? It's going to be amazing. The hidden story is multi-brand location and strategy to support the specific needs within an organization, right down to the department level and to the individual need.
Right.
They'll be in a beautiful contemporary Regus as well, right? So this is where you see a diversified brand strategy work. So Deloitte, that was a big part of their decision. We had an opportunity to partner together. We have a global relationship. In which they work with us across a number of countries. And the space was exactly what they wanted to meet their workplace strategy. And I'm personally, and we're very proud to host them in that location. Right? Now, from a corporate perspective, what's driving corporations? Years ago, there's no way companies would have thought, well, why would we take 80,000 square feet from a co-working provider, right? It's going to be more expensive. We're going to lose our culture. We're, it's our space. We want our name on the building, right? Those concepts and ideologies are completely shifting today for a few reasons why. Let me get into the financial piece. First of all, whether people believe it or not, right? There is savings in moving into co-working versus a conventional lease. Right?
In a number of ways, right? That's just even the fact that a lot of your employees might not be in a traditional office. They're not using their office space.
Exactly.
Right?
50 to 60% of a traditional office goes unutilized, not unused during the week, right? Because people are out driving business, right? We're not in a world today where it's all a manufacturing line, where people have to be in a space specifically to get the job done, right? We're shifting. Technology's become such an enabler. People are able to get to be most productive from various locations, right? So what it helps companies do is actually maximize efficiency, use less space, right, for more people. That's where you talk about densification model, right? Because you don't have that many people in the space all the time. There's also a huge opportunity for companies to, number one, eliminate all their capital costs, right? Because if you think about the capital that goes into the space, if Deloitte wanted to take that building, for example, they're investing in the lease, 10, 15 years, right? They're also investing all the capital, which will represent 30, 40% of the overall cost, right? And they also have the staff, right? So you have to build it, you have to furnish it, you have to institute the best technology,
Right.
you have to get all your phone systems integrated, you got to hire people, all those pieces. And then, of course, if you're Deloitte, you're building other amenities in the space, right? As we see here at the Deloitte building in Toronto.
Yeah. God forbid you grow as well.
That's the other piece, right? So you got it, exactly. So suddenly, right, there's a massive capital investment. Companies now recognize that they can move from a CapEx requirement, a capital investment requirement, to nothing but an operating cost, right? So now it shifts their balance sheet, it shifts their P&Ls, it shifts their posted EBITDA, right? And it gives them tremendous flexibility because companies are moving at such a fast clip, a fast rate today, right? So financially for companies, there's savings. We see net savings for organizations anywhere from 25% and higher when they move to a co-working facility versus their own conventional real estate.
Right.
The other big piece is we're the experts in design, right? So because our business is moving.
You have 4,000 offices.
Right, exactly. Like I'll show you offices where I look and I say, boy, did we ever make a mistake. Right? But because we're building constantly and because we're so in touch with the trends in what people are looking for, we're able to push the trends. Right? So we see this all the time because we talk to companies who are trying to build these new concepts. And we see companies that move to this idea of open collaboration and they just do nothing but open collaboration. The reality is that's not what you need. You actually need, again, an ecosystem. You need a collection. People need privacy still, but they also need openness, right? So we want to make sure people can help max their space. We're in a business, at least we are at IWG, where we want to provide the best locations to conduct the best work in people's lives. But we also have a fiduciary responsibility to our shareholders to make money. We're profitable. So we need to make sure we understand how to monetize space.
That's a big one, which
we may get into that.
Gotta make money.
Right, exactly. So we understand how to provide an amazing experience and monetize. So back to your piece on enterprise. Capital, gone. Complete de-risk, which is great. There's also accounting principle laws changes that went into place in January called IFRS 16, which requires organizations now to post their leases as liabilities on their balance sheet, right? So it doesn't change a company's cash flow because they're still paying, but what it does is it changes their posted EBITDA, right? So if you're a publicly traded company, at the best case scenario, you're explaining to your shareholders why your EBITDA has dropped, right? So what this has done is accelerate in organizations to say, look, how should we be looking at real estate, right? And how should we be looking at this second or first largest cost on our business? And the last big piece is, look, if you think about commercial real estate, right? The notion of utilization in space is changing dramatically. A 10 and 15-year lease is considered bloated. A 5-year sublease is considered bloated. Companies want flexibility.
At the same time, in the leasing market, as an agent, we wouldn't take anything less than a 10 or 15.
You're right. Absolutely. So, if you're you got it. In the market, you wouldn't touch in a market like this today. You wouldn't touch it, right? Companies can come to us and they can sign up for a month. Right. So they can flex up and down. We see this all the time with enterprise organizations going into new markets. They want to get up and running the next day. They can come to us, tour, sign their space, and move in the next day for a month, for years. It's up to them.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we're seeing this desire for flexibility. We're seeing this real big desire to de-risk. We're seeing this desire to reduce capital investment. And there's savings while companies can utilize space better. So every single company, without exaggeration, that we talk to, every single enterprise company is looking today at how they can leverage flexible workspace and co-working as part of their real estate portfolio. Some companies are more aggressive than others. Some companies are at a stage where they're learning, they're evaluating, they're trying to understand what the cultural implication is. They're trying to figure out how they continue to manage, right? Some companies are incredibly aggressive where they're saying, we're not interested in any locations beyond maybe our corporate headquarters. And let's build a hub and spoke methodology around how we manage it because they see the savings and the flexibility.
Yeah. Interesting.
Just on like a sub note here, because I didn't realize that Deloitte had an 80-20 split between like, a creative type of office, maybe similar to this, and then a 20% slice into like a more corporate-esque type of environment. Has anybody ever quantified, the increase in productivity that somebody might be able to achieve from being in a different space, like one individual sitting in a space like this versus sitting in a space that's, more you're in a closed office type of thing?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think part of what we're seeing from organizations is their desire to quantify productivity, because what it does is provide them with an objective financial measurable on the return on investment, right? So I think that's partly why we sit down with a number of companies and just help them run the numbers, because once you run the numbers, it's easy to see savings, right? So that's great, right? But what we're seeing from our organizations is we're still kind of in the qualification world, right? The qualitative world versus quantitative world. They can quantify and evaluate an increase in their employee satisfaction rates. They can evaluate their employee retention, right? They can evaluate their employee attrition rates and also their hiring success by offering up this type of environment, a co-working environment versus a traditional environment. I think productivity is still one of those that they're measuring and hoping they see an increase in productivity, right? Right down to the fact that, like, for example, if a company works with IWG, if they're a member at Spaces here in Queen West, they have access to the other 110 locations currently open across the country. So if you live in, for example, in Port Moody, British Columbia, right, and you office out of Spaces Granville, and they get hit with a snowstorm, twice a year, right? Suddenly you can go to Regus and Port Moody and be just as effective, not more, because you just eliminated 4 hours of commute time, right? So that is a quantifiable, measurable opportunity. I think you're seeing from some companies in our space this kind of evaluation around like how can they provide back to companies the opportunity to measure how much time is spent in space. And I think that's going to be something that will be kind of an interesting notion over the next few years, right? In terms of how that works and with privacy concerns, et cetera. So I think it's still, there are quantifiables around employee satisfaction and ENPS. There are quantifiables around the space that people use, which we can measure because they're checking in, et cetera. And I personally believe there is a heightened level of productivity in space like this because they're getting more done in the space. But I think there's still some like quantitative gaps for sure.
More time, more information.
More time. It's funny because you're right. And also trying to understand how you truly measure productivity, right, is key.
Subjective.
Very much so. Right. I wouldn't be surprised if companies that have completely committed to co-working, I'm sure, are looking at it and saying, we see a productivity increase, right? Because part of it's like connecting to their own mission and their vision.
Well, especially companies like Deloitte, like I feel like they would be keeping, a pretty heavy eye on that type of, output from their employees because they are a churn. They're a machine. And you have a machine moving into your spaces and they're going to be watching and quantifying everything that they possibly can. That's what they do.
You are absolutely
accountants.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
How big is the market and how big is it going to be? Like I think there's a couple studies that have come out in 2030, co-working space will be as much as 30% of all offices or something like this. Like how can it be growing like that? And I guess like, is that accurate? What do you see?
It's a great question. So first of all, here's what we see. An incredible surge of demand, right? So as we talked earlier, we've grown 5x, which you think about, we could now be the largest tenant in Canada outside of the banks and the government, right? We're up there, right? Because we've just been on this aspirational growth mode. And I will tell you, I took a look at some numbers. And if we hadn't grown to the degree we had, if let's say we grew at half the rate that we grew, while all of our competitors are growing as well, we would not have been able to provide service for 30% of the clients. It's remarkable. We just would not have been able to provide space.
Right.
We would have been full across every location from Regina to Halifax to here at Queen Street. So what we're hearing from analysts, and you're exactly right. JLL came in with a study and talked about how by
Never heard of them.
Yeah, yes. One of a few of the commercial real estate. So they came out and I will put a plug in for Colliers. They're our strategic partner in Canada. We love them, right? So, the study came out that said by 2030, 30% of commercial real estate will be considered co-working. And if you think about that number, today there's 750 million square feet of real estate, including government assets across Canada.
Okay.
If that number by 2030 would represent 225 million square feet, let's say 250 million square feet.
Yeah.
Today, we're the largest. It's a highly fragmented industry, most surging early embryonic industries, right?
Yeah.
Which, even though we're 30 years in, it's still early stage because people are this is becoming mainstream the last 3 years.
Yeah. You guys are still growing like a startup too.
You got it. Absolutely. We can't access enough capital to grow at the rate we need to.
Yeah.
Right? So we're the largest, but if you look at everybody in our industry combined here in Canada, let's say, we represent maybe 2%.
Wow.
Right? So even if the number isn't 30, even if it's 10%, let's say, that's 75 million square feet. Guys, we're 5 today.
Yeah.
Right? So we can't even keep up with the demand.
Yeah.
And so I think what you're going to see in this industry is, first of all, I think you're going to see rationalization. Right? Because at some point, this is also the longest commercial real estate bubble we've seen on a global scale, contiguous, right? That will end, right? They all do, right? And so that will end, and that will present tremendous opportunity for rationalization in this business. Because the thing about this business is, it's not easy to operate. It's like hotels. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? And I'm sure we'll talk about landlords later on, et cetera. But the opportunity is immense, and because contingent workforce is growing exponentially. Today, 30% of Canadians are considered contingent, right? Freelancers, contractors, et cetera. That number is growing to 40% in the next 2 years. So if you think about that, there's 18 million employable Canadians. Right now, it's 6 million is contingent. You see them here walking around. Right? It's amazing how many freelancers are here. Freelancers want to be in an environment where they can collaborate together and they want to be productive. Because there's a real social component to space, right? There's a loneliness factor in working from home, et cetera. People want to connect.
It can be kind of romantic to work from home for a day.
Bingo. Exactly. I need for a day because it feels like a long weekend. It's depressing. Guys, I won't work from home. There's no way. I love being in a vibrant environment where I can be productive. Kitchen tables, not valuable, right? So contingent workforce is growing from 30 to 40% by 2021. It'll grow to 51% by 2027. So by 2027, you'll have 9.5 million Canadians employable who need a great place to work because they're part of this contingent workforce. Co-working is their answer, right? Then you have this dramatic shift in technology, which enables people to work from wherever they need to at any given time.
Right.
The whole notion of 9 to 5 is over, right? People work at any given point, depending on what their needs are, and people are becoming more globalized on their teams. And organizations are saying flexibility for the reasons we talked about. So I think what you're going to see is this industry is still very early stage. There's dramatic growth in front of us. You will see more and more companies and players come into the mix. which is, I think, great because it's challenging everybody to rethink their assets as well, and really understand this business and how to provide an amazing community, not just amenity. Because right now we're talking about amenities, but it's really about community, right? And about amazing productive space, right? So, so I think, look, even if it grows to 10%, all of us combined in this space today, ourselves, our competitors, all of us combined actually can't access the space required. Forget about the capital. They can't access the space required to grow to meet the demand. And I think in 5 years, co-working will just be called working. This is a concept today that we label. The reality is, it's just working.
We're gonna clip it right there. That's a good one. That's awesome.
Fade to black.
Yeah. What a fantastic segue though. So talking about the competitive landscape, we have WeWork. How much money did they?
I think they got what, $2 billion?
Yeah,
they're with SoftBank.
They're raising money left and right.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're not profitable, right?
No, they lose $2 billion a year.
Yeah, right. I like a lot of people are looking
more
at
than the revenues. But.
Yeah, a lot of people are looking at that as extremely unsustainable. I don't know where the valuation comes from, but there's also Oxford starting their own co-working space. There's going to be more, right? Can you talk about the difficulty of operating and also how you guys are different as more and more people come into the space?
Well, let me say a few things. First of all, I will say that competition has been the best thing for us. You mentioned WeWork earlier on. They've done amazing things for this business, right? You can certainly look at their business model and, walk through your own thoughts. A couple of things they did though was they created, I think they helped create a personality around co-working, right? And they really kind of shifted this idea of functional space. When we launched, it was incredibly new, right? But it was also 30 years ago, it was actually about provide space as a function. It was very functional. It was very like almost like utilitarian, right? And clients back then, it was all about like keep the space almost like beautiful design, very sophisticated, very agnostic, right? Because clients wanted their clients to walk in feeling like they made it. Yeah. This is their space, right? So it was never about Regus. It was about the client experience.
Right.
And I think WeWork helped put a face to co-working. So that was, I think, a powerful moment in this industry where suddenly culturally co-working became really cool, right? And I think you see like the reflection on the investment is, certainly, I think it's a demonstration of interest in what the future looks like. You probably saw the other day. I mean, look, Ucommune, which is a large Chinese co-working organization, is planning on IPOing, right? Driving a $3 billion valuation, right? So there's a lot of interest in this world. Now, I also think there's going to be tremendous rationalization.
Right, as you mentioned.
Right, because at the end of the day, you to be successful, right, you need to provide an amazing experience and you need to be able to be sustainable. Right? So, we're seeing, traditional organizations like landlords get into the space. We see Oxford, right, who's a great partner of ours here in Canada and globally, express some interest. And I think it's important for every organization who is in commercial real estate, who is interested, to be considering what co-working means to them. Because of a few things. And I will tell you, in direct conversation with my partners every day across the Oxfords of the world, number one, it's because their clients are asking them.
Right.
They want to know, what's your plan? Because the idea of just managing an asset is kind of shifting now. people are challenging, the notion of what the environment should be the minute you walk in the door.
Right.
So I'll give you an idea at Spaces or Regus. Look, there are many times we're actually managing the lobbies of buildings.
Right.
We're turning a lobby into an amenity, right? When we're working with companies like First Gulf on a new project like The Shift, we're sitting down with them. We used to sit down and say, we want the top 2 floors with great views.
Yeah.
Now we're saying, we want the lobby.
Yeah.
We want the lobby to 6 to 8 floors, because we want to create such an amazing environment for you and your clients and the public.
Yeah.
Right? That we're going to help raise your building's profile.
No kidding.
And help you make more money.
Yeah.
Right?
And then throw Google on the top.
Right on. Exactly. That's right. I want every person walking down the street to go, what is that place?
Yeah.
One of the best compliments we had on this building at Spaces, our grand opening, no speeches, no ribbon cutting, no, dignitaries, right? We wanted to have a party, right? We wanted to introduce Spaces to the world according to Canada, right? We had 1,000 people through the doors. I thought it was the largest, it was the best attended co-working event globally.
Yeah.
Globally, regardless of competitor, 1,000 people, right? And I had a friend who was taking up, it was electric, right?
Yeah.
And it was like great partners and food vendors and just like this amazing experience. And I had a friend of mine who was taking a picture outside to send to me, and it was funny. He told me the story where a couple was walking down the street, young couple, right? And they were walking down the street, and she had turned to the guy and said, "Oh, what is that place?" And he turned and said, "Oh, it's some new club." Right? And I'm like, "We are sexy. Here we go. We made it, people. We made it." Right? So I think everybody from the institutional landlords, developers, asset managers, partners, I think people are investigating. But here's what I think is going to happen if you want my prediction, right? I think some may investigate, but the reality is, organizations do well when they stay in their lanes, right? Yeah. So we're not interested in establishing today our own REIT or, large portfolio of assets.
That's on our list for questions.
Perfect. Okay. We understand our excellence. We are the best at building immersive communities and operating great co-working and flexible workspaces.
Yeah.
Right? It's what we do so well. If you look at us from the back office side, it's just a well-oiled machine, from marketing to driving leads, to integrating with our teams, to showcasing, right down to managing the 3 kitchens that are in this place, right?
Right.
It's a ton of work. By the way, with people who aren't paying their monthly lease, right? They're paying a rent. Like in this building, we'll have 150 companies. Just imagine managing the accounts receivable of that, right? So organizations are looking at it. They're investigating it because because of the 30% growth opportunity, because of this notion of rent and charge upcharges, right? Yeah. Because of the opportunity to derive profit and extract profit.
Right.
But the reality is, from an operational perspective, it is tough to operate.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to be so finite every single day on every inch of space and how you operate. So what I think will happen is companies will dabble, right? Companies will investigate to say, what do we want to do about co-working? Do we want to create our own entity? Do we want to leverage our own assets and roll something out? Do we want to have an organization? You look at 111, right, which is an Omer's Ventures organization, right, who provides co-working facilities for scale-ups. By the way, they're a global partner of IWG, right? They're moving away from capital and working with us, right, to partner together, right? So I think companies will dabble, companies will investigate, some may step in, but I think what will happen long term is people will recognize, let's partner with the best partners.
Yeah.
And let's find a way to make sure we're providing the client experience that our clients are looking for, not trying to rebuild what has been deployed, and also work with an organization or organizations that do it really well, so you don't have to worry about having to try to build something and learn, for example, with us, from the 30 years of what we've learned, right? So it's a tough business to operate. It's the same thing around how come landlords aren't all hotel operators, right? Because they're very different businesses, right? This is an incredibly different business.
Interesting point, actually, just real quick. With obviously the growth of co-working space, and then you guys have your own effectively internal sales and marketing team, do you think that that's going to severely detract from, some of your partners like Colliers? And
I am so glad you answered that question. So, Garrett, it's a great question. So I will tell you, I sit on a lot of panels, right? And I'm usually on panels with, my partners and friends from Oxford and Allied and Brookfield, et cetera. And that question comes up. It's like, look, is co-working friends or foes to commercial real estate? The reality is, my opinion is, it all depends on who you partner with, right? So I will tell you, for example, our goal is to make sure that every single broker across Canada and Latin America has the education and the knowledge and the thought leadership to be able to provide the best solutions for their clients. Right? So we look at ourselves today more as our goal with our brokerage partners is to be thought leaders, right? It's not about send me your leads. It's about which by the way,
which is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. We'll ask for them later, right? When we deserve them, right? So, but it's a few things, right? It's about helping educate the brokerage community, right? Because this is really important for every broker who's listening to this podcast. I need you to know that every one of your clients is thinking about co-working.
Right.
And if you're not talking about it, you're at a threat of losing your client to somebody else who's more educated and more progressive in offering up a full range of solutions. And I'm not saying that because I'm in co-working. I'm just telling you, I talk to companies every single day. It's amazing where we've come in the last 5 years. Every company I talk to, whether they're 12 people or Deloitte or Amazon or Google or Facebook, they're all integrating co-working. From the most conservative, traditional organizations right through to the most progressive who understand how to leverage their balance sheet and what their employees are looking for, right? They're all talking about it. So please make sure you take the time to ask great questions and give your clients a full range understanding of solutions. So on the brokerage side, we want to be thought leaders, right? That's a key piece. We want to help our brokers educate their clients on options. The other piece that we've learned over the last couple of years is there's a myth towards understanding as a broker the money you can make in signing a deal with flexible workspace. It is. It's versus a conventional lease. I think there's a notion of like conventional lease will pay, 2x the amount that you're going to earn from a co-working deal. I will tell you guys, it's like we do the math for part of our when we meet in a brokerage house, right? Part of what we always make sure we do is let's walk through an understanding around what it looks like. I don't know if you guys, I know you guys are on the investment side, but.
So I find it especially useful being on the investment side because when people talk to me about leasing and say, hey, do you have space for our 10-person team? First of all, I don't want to deal with that. But if I refer that, nobody wants that even within our organization. A lot of the time, it might be too small. They're not sure what they want to do. We had John Bass-Bursey, who I love.
He's a wonderful area manager for us. Fantastic.
He's the man. So and he's the reason we're here as well. He said, you guys should speak with Wayne. Absolute weapon. You're going to love it. Seriously.
Thank you, John.
But if you send him anything, the responsiveness, the consideration for, okay, is this a relationship that you want to manage? Do you want us to handle it like this? And at the end of the day, you can get paid. I think we like the same rates as if somebody else did a 5-year deal.
Right.
We did a gentleman in our downtown office, I think he forwarded, maybe there's slightly more work involved, but I think he forwarded a lead for deal and made like, I don't know if I can say it on here, but like close to $100,000. Like,
yes, exactly.
Bananas.
Think about making 10% of the contract. Like, it's remarkable. So to your point, I think 2 quick things on that piece. 3 things. One, what we've learned is, for us, thought leadership key. 2, helping brokers understand how they get paid and the money they can actually make.
Yeah.
I was in Vancouver a couple of weeks ago. We had an opportunity to get together with the Colliers brokers, who brokered the Granville deal. By the way, they also brokered the deal for the school that's moving into our Great Northern Way location. Right. 5-year deal, 45,000 square feet. Wow. Right? I'm not lying to you.
That's crazy too.
They took us out for dinner. Like that, we wanted to pick up the check. I'm telling you right now. It's like I offered, gentlemen, multiple times to pick up the check. They paid for dinner. I just approved their broker check. I want to fly out personally with a suitcase and hand it over to them. Just make it the ultimate ceremony. It was unbelievable. I'm so excited for them, guys. I can't tell you.
That's a crazy experience when both people you're like, oh my God, they made us such a great deal. And they're like, oh my God, these Regus guys don't know how much money they just made us.
Listen, in that team of brokers, the 2 gentlemen, they did both deals. So they have 2 checks coming that I wish on this podcast I could share with you the amount it was. It was unbelievable. I'm excited for them. Yeah. I'm proud of the fact that they're doing very well, right? Now, those are great deals, but the point is, this is why it's really important. Number 1, we act with urgency with our brokers, right? Yeah. And we want them to know, full confidence. A broker could be as simple as send us the name and the phone number. Yeah. Don't worry about it. We got it under control. We'll keep you fully updated. Right. They're going to get the absolute best treatment because they're your clients, and we understand they're your clients for life. Yeah. And the one thing you can trust with us is we're not interested in eradicating the broker from the experience, unlike some other people in our industry. Right?
And you guys actually pay people. I've heard not everybody in the industry is as quick on that account.
We pay fast because and you can track it. It's all on the broker app, right? Yeah. There's an IWG app for our brokers, right? All you have to do is submit and track, done, right? So for us, urgency, confidence, and then to your point, you think about the work that goes in if you're a broker. I think about a couple of things. I think about the guys and the ladies that are cutting their teeth in brokerage. Mm-hmm. It's a tough business. Yeah. And it's like 90% turnover. And you're making a minor little draw, and then you got to build your book, and you got to earn your seat every year. Yeah. And that comes from revenue. If we can help more and more brokers earn their revenue thresholds and their goals so they can grow their financial position and grow their bank account and build a successful career, boy, nothing makes me happier. And they can do that working with us, right? Because they can, you think about the work that goes into a 10-person deal in a market like Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal today. That, it could carry on for a year with everything from searching to the legal component to the contract, et cetera. And sometimes you get through that 12-month period, and next thing you know, that company who's operating with 10 people suddenly says, oh, wait a minute, I got to secure some additional funding, et cetera. And then you've invested a long time. Yeah. Versus...
on top of that, they might just go with a co-working space.
Bingo. Exactly. Which most of them do, because here's the other thing we're seeing now. We've seen a lot of companies take their own space, and they actually want to come back to co-working because what companies are saying, it's really interesting. They're saying, we got our own space, and it was awesome because it's like this almost like philosophical feeling of accomplishment, right? But then the reality is they walk in and they say, well, where's the coffee? and wait a minute, like, we got to furnish this place. And of course, like, there's a lot of effort that goes in, right? But also, what's interesting is they say they became very exclusive. What I mean by that is, you know, how do companies grow? Well, they grow by getting their word out and by integrating and networking and having a chance to, like, establish their business with great concepts and also communicating great concepts. Yeah. When you're at a co-working facility, you know, we purposely operate 6 to 10 events a week out of this location and spaces. Every IWG location across Canada and Latin America operates at minimum one event a month. One, like, just minimum, and many of them do them once a week. The whole purpose is frankly for, like, gathering, to bring people together.
The people in here will know each other.
Bingo. Whether it's on our community app virtually, right, or whether it's getting people together here. Here's a special place because I remember when I was officing here, I was at a point where I never had more work done and less work done at the same time. I remember in January, right, we thought, let's do a health and wellness month because we just came off one great December and November. And by January 10th, people were knocking on my door saying, hey, Wayne, like, when's the next happy hour? I'm like, really? Okay, well, forget the juice bar, right? Yeah. So the 10 people, right, this is so much easier. And you get paid immediately on 10% of the contract value, which sometimes is more than what you would have made on that lease. Yeah. And then, but the big piece is, because a lot of brokers would look at our business and say, yeah, like the 10 person or less, that's a great home run. Or the swing space, right, between conventional contracts and leases, home run. Or the project space, when somebody like a Deloitte and a Scotiabank gather for a year and they need space off-site, et cetera, right? That's a home run. But the enterprise business, right, take a look, right? We're leasing full buildings out to enterprise organizations today. Why? Because they want to be in co-working, because they want to eliminate capital investment from that really big P&L line, right? They want flexibility, and they want immersive, beautifully designed experiences.
Yeah, they want the best employees.
Bingo, exactly. And we're still paying 10% on those deals, and we're seeing examples of it maybe not every day, but definitely every week.
Yeah. It's incredible. One of my friends was like, how do I just sign up every single client in our database? I was like, well, you can't do that. You can't. But
you're selling the list at that point.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, so, like, how many employees do you have, like, in total, the whole team?
Great question. So across Latin America and Canada, we have roughly 750 employees.
Okay. Small army.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. So one of our big initiatives this year strategically is actually roll out franchising. And we're going to start to franchise our model.
Interesting.
But, yes.
That is neat.
For a few reasons why. Number one, co-working is incredibly mainstream.
Yeah.
Number two, it helps us de-risk. Because if you think about Canada, right? Canada as an organization internally has received an imbalanced ratio of investment. And what I mean by that is we've gotten more money than we probably would normally think you would because of the size and nature of the country.
Yeah.
Right? We've grown at 5x, gentlemen. Like that requires huge capital.
Yeah.
Right? So as an organization, for us to get from 4,000 locations to 30,000 locations, right, we're going to require more than just our own capital.
Right.
And we're an organization that, again, is fiduciarily responsible and we make money, right? So this is an opportunity to expand, right? So franchising is a key piece for us.
What will that look like? Like, they can brand as a Regus, appear on your website, and then are you managing the reception? Are you managing the
Great question. Yes. Right.
Okay.
So we work with our landlords and our partners. We may be managing their space in a revenue share model or profit share model. We're also looking at franchising, where we're basically offering up franchise rights for different clusters of territories across the country and around the world. But by the way, not just in places like Saskatoon, but in downtown Toronto. Because the reality is, we know based on the trends that we need an opportunity to continue to grow, right? And there's an acceleration of need for this space. Right? So franchising, while we continue to grow corporately, is a major initiative in helping us continue to grow at a greatly accelerated rate while we manage our own capital investment and allow our franchisees to diversify. So the reason why I bring it up is because if you think about franchise, if you think about labor, what's interesting about this type of space is it's a big capital investment to build, but to operate, because we have such large global infrastructure and systems, right? To operate this space, we have 3 people, right? To operate 55,000 square feet of coworking, right?
Wow, that's huge.
Whereas you think about like a traditional franchise, you think about a restaurant, right? 30% of a restaurant's cost a franchisee's cost is labor. Right. Whereas here, it's a single percentage point. And then there's also cost of goods in a restaurant, which is another extraordinary expense, right? Whereas here, there's no cost of goods. It's build out and a couple people operate. So from a labor perspective, our labor profile is really attractive. Yeah. Right? And I'll tell you, we have the best teams. Yeah. They're unbelievable. Their passion for the clients, their passion for their team members, and their passion, we talk about this all the time. Our goal, our mission is to help people improve the quality of their life by helping them improve the quality of their work life. And it's no different for us, our internal mission. My goal is every one of the 750 people that work at IWG here in Canada, Latin America, go to bed on Sunday excited about Monday. Like they can't wait to get to work on Monday. Yeah. If I get there, that's a mission accomplished, right? Because we want to give them an environment that they love to be in every single day. It's fast, it's fluid, it's challenging. Yeah. It's an adventure. You imagine trying to manage these types of ecosystems. They're not easy. It takes a special person, but we've got amazing people.
And real quick, just before we wrap up with a segment that gets a little deep, a little deeper.
Have I not hit the depth? What do you think?
No. Even
just wait.
Yeah. So, sorry. Is there any like things that you want to announce? So that's really interesting. The franchise opportunity. What other exciting things do you guys have going on? You can.
Boy, I mean, outside of, we're
expanding at the speed of light.
Yeah, we're just what I love though is that we're expanding at the speed of light, but also what I love is we're incredibly discerning about who we work with. Right. Like we're proud of our partnership with Allied. Yes. Right. And we love the message they send to the market about co-working. Right. And their space is beautiful. We're proud of our partnership with Oxford and Brookfield and, Kingset and Dream and, but we're very discerning about like where we move into. Yeah. Because our goal is, look, we want to change the world. Yeah. That's my personal goal. I want to change the world. Yeah. And and I want to change blocks. I want to create vibrancy. When I go out for a run, I stare at buildings all the time. I'm looking for vibrancy. There's nothing better than building something that is electric, that attracts people. Yeah. Right. Where people are just so proud of being part of. Right. So when we look at, like, for example, our new spaces in Liberty, or our new spaces at 2 St. Clair, or, like we talked about, the Well in front of West Georgia, or Granville, we are incredibly discerning from a financial perspective, from a partnership perspective, from how we manage that portfolio, to right down to like literally the address. What will this mean for the sub block? Right. Right. What can we do together with partners from like business improvement associations, right through to our partners? It's not about just give us all the space you can. Right. No, it's like make sure it's the right space for us and our partners. Right. So that's key piece. You'll see from us a continued growth plan, but also a growth plan around brand diversification, right? Because as we talked about earlier with Deloitte, right? And this is not just attributed to Deloitte; it's attributable to every company. Yeah. People don't just want co-working; they want different designs in different environments and different brands. Right. One of our big brands in Latin America is HQ. right? So I could relate HQ to, for example, like a Fairfield Inn with Marriott. You look at Marriott, diversified brand strategy from JW right through, right? So HQ, beautiful, well-designed, functional space, great dollar value, right? So we're going to continue to roll out a diversified brand strategy across number 18, which is like your Soho House, excellent, great club environment, to Spaces, which has been unbelievable. Spaces will be larger than WeWork from a size perspective by the end of this year.
Awesome.
In terms of locations globally. Regus, our heritage brand, which, by the way, incredibly successful, continuing to grow.
Yeah.
Right? HQ, number 18, and then Signature by Regus. So diversified brand strategy. I wouldn't be surprised to see verticalization in co-working. Right, so we've had a lot of interest from like industries like blockchain, et cetera, that say, we want a whole co-working. But it's funny, we actually push back on that a little bit to say, look, there's power in integration and diversification, right? Like it's amazing when you have blockchain here with financial institutions.
You
right?
might get more if Deloitte's working in your space than if...
Totally agree. And Deloitte loves that they're integrated and partnering in with these vibrant industries, right? And startups.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll see that. And I think, from there, I think you're going to see just continued growth and development in this business.
So like I'm loving this, but I think we're like getting to the end of our film.
Yeah.
Like how much?
Just on one camera. This camera's fully good to go. This one's like 1 minute left. That one's got like as much.
Okay. Well, that's fine. So we'll start. I know you got meetings and stuff, so we'll start to wrap it up. Real quick about like co-living.
Yes.
What do you think? What are your thoughts? I know you have tons of thoughts, but encapsulated.
Yeah. Early stage, extension of the university experience, which probably makes sense, right?
Okay.
Because you have a large workforce coming in right now with the millennials and then the Gen Zs.
Yeah.
And probably more of a demand that's very micro market specific depending on the housing market.
Okay. And the reason I brought up your employees, like how are you such a good leader? I mean, it comes across, what are your thoughts on like maybe like a couple points on how to lead effectively?
I practice a very specific philosophy, right? To me, it's all about selfless leadership, right? Yeah. Leaders eat last. You have to put your people first, right? So that to me is critical, right? I want to make sure that every single person in my organization is valued and they're cared for, that they understand what success looks like, the whole spectrum of success, right?
Yeah.
I want people, I'm driven and passionate to do great things, and I want every single person to be part of that, right? So part of it is helping our community associates, community managers understand the impact they have. They have the most important roles in our organization. They're creating the experience every single day, right? So I'm on a podcast, right? They're living it every single day, right? So that is critical. So I'm a big believer in selfless leadership, and I'm a big believer in shadow the leader. Everything you say, everything you do, everything people think you're not saying through your message needs to be understood and cared for, right? So critical. And look, at the end of the day, it's like, I love people.
Yeah.
I love having the opportunity to extract the most. I want people to achieve their goals and their dreams, whether, by the way, it's with IWG or somewhere else.
Yeah.
Sometimes this may be part of their mission for years. That's great. That's okay. It's just like for me. I made a change fundamentally. Best move ever made, right? So I think those pieces are really, really important, personally.
Okay. Is there any other questions before the final question?
No, we can go to the final question.
Okay. This question, so Wayne was telling us before the cameras were rolling, you've been listening to podcasts since 2007.
Yeah.
One of my favorite podcasters is Lewis Howes. I don't know if you know that, I love that guy. But anyways, he has this question, 3 truths. We do it here as well.
Yeah.
So the 3 truths are, imagine years from now, you live to be 150 years old, modern medicine. And you had a very successful life, and everybody that you love is around you. You have hundreds of friends and family members, and your great-grandkids are around you. But for whatever reason, all of the books that you've put out, all of the interviews that you've done, it's all gone. And you have basically 3 short notes that you can write to them that they'll remember you by on how to live your life and, you know, the way you think about the world. What would those 3 notes be?
Wow, that's a great question. I would say the first one is like, be your authentic self and understand what you can truly achieve in life. Right? Nothing frustrates me more than people who don't maximize their own potential, right? And I think we're so blessed, number one, to be here in this world, that I just want people to live their true, authentic life and maximize what their potential is. Right? 2, be a great person, right? Look, I tell my team this all the time. It's like, you know, we're at an early stage in what we're doing. I want my team to look back 25 years from now and walk down the street and realize we did change the world. Yeah. I want my kids to walk down the street and go, God, I remember my dad opened up the first spaces. Yeah. And now everything's, remember, coworking's working now, right? Because it's kind of like that's like a tangible recognition, right? Yeah. But just be a great person. You know, care for people. Right? And I think that gets lost sometimes in this world, right? Care for people regardless of their role, regardless of their title. Frankly, care more for the people that you see every single day that sometimes you don't say hi to or you kind of disregard, right? Yeah. So I think that piece, just be a great, caring individual without looking for retribution, without looking for like that anything recognition in return. Yeah. And then I think thirdly, boy, I don't know, it's 2 notes. Yeah. Thirdly is...
It's tough. It's a tough question, seriously.
You know, I think, you know, where you try to achieve some balance, which I know I'm not good at, right? So try to achieve some balance because, you know, I've got kids that are 13 and 11, and I know everybody says this, and people say this to me all the time, and now I'm the guy saying it. It's like, look, life moves fast. Yeah. Right? And, you know, try to make sure that you're there to support everybody in your life that is relying on you, right? So I think that's another key piece that, by the way, I am no expert at. But
us not.
But I recognize it and I'm working towards it. Yeah. Right? So authentic self, care for a ton of great people, and achieve the balance you need to achieve where you can look back in your life and say, I lived a fulfilled life, and the people around you can say thank you for being an amazing person, an amazing contributor. Yeah, that's what I want. I want to provide a great contribution in life, whatever that looks like. Yeah, and it's funny you say 150 years because my team knows this, my friends know this. I have full intent to live into 120, by the way. Yeah, at least, and 119 of those will be really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Last one could be interesting, but but that's okay because maybe I'm maxed out, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's all good.
Yeah,
right?
You reached your potential.
Bingo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations on your podcast.
Thank you.
Really enjoyable. Love the opportunity to interact with both of you. Great questions, guys, and I wish you all the success.
Thank you.
Thanks
Wayne.
again.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks, guys. How was that?
It was awesome. Great.
That was awesome. Was it too long?